could the best real estate investment be located in Paraguay? Today we talk with German developers and investors to find out.
If you get in right now, you're going to have a yield of like 14%.
Even if the market takes a downturn, you are still looking at a double-digit yield.
And residency here is cheap and easy. Then afterwards, after 3 years, you can get a passport.
The real estate economy here is booming right now.
And it was recently even upgraded to investment grade.
Most Latin American countries are not investment grade. Paraguay is. And that means capital will find its way to Paraguay, and that will benefit real estate prices. Let's talk about Park Lofts. Park Lofts is different from other developers because we are following a unique type of real estate that we create. We are building small studio apartments, fully independent, very practical, efficiently designed, 20 covered square meter apartments that have their small kitchenette, they have their small bathroom. Most of them have an additional balcony, a balcony of 6 square meters, not all of them. So then 6 square meters is a balcony where you can really use. You can put a table there and sit there and you can really use it. In 20 square meters, you have everything you need. In many other cities in the world, you have even smaller studio apartments. So 20 is the smallest one in Paraguay, but not internationally. Now, what is so important about that size? With this size, we allow our investors to achieve a high yield, a high rental yield, but still renting out at less than $300 per month. So the tenant can rent for $200-something an apartment in a good area of Asunción, of the capital of the country, close to his workspace or to his university, close to where all the action is, all the shoppings, all the nightlife, the restaurants. You can buy it for a budget that is affordable for the so-called young professionals in Greater Asunción. What is very important is that the Greater Asunción has 2.5 million people. Asunción, the city, only 500,000. But nearly all good workplaces are in Asunción. So we have many, many hundreds of thousands of people commuting from the suburbs in a horrible nightmare traffic. It takes you 1.5 hours one way, 3 hours of your life, of your day, you spend in the traffic jam. Now, if you move to Asunción, you save this time and you also save the cost of commuting. Now, the cost of commuting to drive 20 kilometers in, 20 kilometers out, 40 kilometers a day in a stop-and-go traffic is already more than $200 a month. Now, out of these commuters, more than 100,000 are young professionals in the sense that they are still singles. They typically they have an academic degree, they have a capability, special skills, so they earn more than the minimum wage. Most of them are in a bracket where they earn $700, $800, $900 a month. With this budget, you cannot afford the typical Asunción apartment, which starts at about $400 because it eats up half of your salary. Nobody wants to spend half for renting. But we allow them to spend 1/3, and that makes a big difference. That makes exactly the difference where they say, okay, we move. We move out of our parents' home because in the suburban area, they all live in their parents' house. Now they move out, they have independence, freedom, they have their own private space. It's like a step in their life to become an independent person. That's one part. They save all this time in the traffic. They save money because they don't need a car anymore. When they move to a Park Loft apartment, they can walk or go with a bicycle to their workspace because they're very near. And when they go out at night or go to some other places, they just take an Uber or Bolt that costs you within Asunción between $2 and $4, depending on the distance. So they also can afford it, not having a car anymore. The next thing is why are other developers not focusing on this space? It's easy, right? We have so many people that would want to have this type of apartment. Why is only Park Lofts doing that and the others are not doing that? The reason is that the typical Paraguayan developer is used to build for owner-occupiers. He wants to sell to someone who is buying and lives inside. The small park loft units, some will also be bought by people who occupy it, but the vast majority are bought by investors. We have an ideal investment product because we offer higher yield on the dollar that you spend. And from the beginning, we say, okay, you buy and you will rent out to young professionals or to relatively wealthy students, because in Paraguay, to rent your own studio, even if it's cheap, you already have to be a relatively wealthy student. A normal student cannot rent his own studio apartment. But you have a lot of wealthy students studying in Asunción. A lot of foreign students, by the way, especially Brazilians studying medicine. You have more than 10,000 medical students from Brazil in Asunción. So we have a big segment, and we are building for investors that buy and rent out. Apart from renting out on a long-term basis to young professionals, a very interesting segment that provides you an even higher yield of 12–14% is Airbnb. So a lot of our investors, they buy in order to rent out to Airbnb. Now, my partner Robin, already for some years, is managing many apartments in Airbnb with a lot of success. And he can tell you a bit about the fantastic occupation rates and yields that you can achieve in the Airbnb space.
Airbnb here is very interesting because one thing is you have a very low seasonality in Asunción. It's not a typical tourist destination here, but a lot of people coming here are Argentinians, Brazilians, Europeans. For example, us too, no? I think everyone of us has stayed in Airbnbs before, and usually even on a monthly basis. So it's a trend the last couple of years that people use Airbnbs for long-term stays. They get a discount like 10% on the nightly rate, and then we have a lot of people here even staying like 6 months. And it makes sense because getting a long-term contract here, a 12-month rental contract, which is the norm here, and which is obviously going to be a bit cheaper, is not that easy because you need to have certain requirements like local income. They don't accept your foreign income or income as a digital nomad. They don't accept that. They want to have it as IVA tax declarations here, and most people just don't have that. And then additionally, you need a guarantor, so you need a local Paraguayan person which is wealthy and presenting all of their income of the last 6 months for the landlord to rent out to you via a 12-month contract. And that's something that's like this for years, I think for decades. Julian has experienced that before. I bought my first apartment here because they wouldn't let me rent. So I was like, okay, then I'll buy the apartment because I had the economic capacity to buy it, but they didn't let me rent it. So that's some crazy thing here happening in the market. And because of that, and because we have a lot of business here, Asunción is a business hub. It's a tax haven. And you have a lot of Argentinians, Brazilians, and other people traveling here for business and staying part of the year or a couple of months. So those are, from the yield perspective, very attractive tenants here for Airbnb. We have very high occupation rates. Last year we had an average of 79%, which is already pretty high. And as I said, the seasonality is low. It's all year round. The weather here is good all year round. People come here for business all year round. There's not really a season. Because when there's the best weather, then here's the holiday season, so it really evens out, kind of. And this year we're having even higher occupancy rates of a little over 90%, which sounds insane. Which really sounds insane, but the competition here is also not that professional. If you look at the photos and the furnishing, it's not done in a very well professional way. And our apartments will have a great yield because people don't care as much about space when they book something for Airbnb. A hotel room normally is exactly the size we're building. And the hotels figure that out over centuries of seeing what people prefer. And most hotel rooms today are studios, basically. And I've stayed in studios for years. It's the most affordable, and the average here in Asunción, I'm sure you've looked at it, is like $1,000 a month on Airbnb.
Yeah.
And we can offer at $600, $700, $500 even, and the investors will have great yields. We have apartments between $29,000 and $37,000. So, and in Asunción, all in great locations. Our first building is between the airport and the new center. So you're 5 minutes from the airport, 10 minutes from the new center. And the new one is right in the action, just 5 minutes from La Cuadrita, where you have all the top restaurants and Shopping Mariscal. One of the hubs here with the most growth. Then you have Shopping del Sol and Paseo La Galeria. But those three are basically the micro centers of the new growth, and it's all together in Villamora, Recoleta, Yucuasati, Burucuyá. So you have a huge area there, which is very interesting for tourists and for Airbnb travelers. You also have all the office buildings here. So yeah, I think the yields on Airbnb are great. We're very low cost. Here, if you buy a couple of units, you could buy them next to each other. They can even share Wi-Fi. The expenses are small. Our first building is only 4 floors. So there, for example, you don't have maintenance of an elevator or stuff like that. So yeah, we're really doing everything to limit the costs and to even plan it from the beginning for Airbnb. We also do all the management. For example, we have different packages. If you buy 2 apartments, you get 1 year of property management for free. And if you buy 3 apartments, you also get 1 year of tax consultancy for free. Park Lofts just bought a company which is doing the administration of the apartments and the tax consultancy. It's a company I've built too. So we fuse them together to have all of the capabilities in one hand. So the idea is to have a one-stop shop. End of Q1, we're probably going to have a multifamily office here too. There's a friend from Buenos Aires. He's also German, and for I think 20 years in the industry, coming here and opening that. Franzi is also going to be part of that. She learned, for example, real estate management in Germany, but I'm sure she's going to tell us about that.
I studied real estate.
And yeah, I think we're very well set up. We're going to have an investment vehicle too. So that's going to be the next announcement.
When you talk about yields, what can they expect net? Because you mentioned that this is pretty unique compared to other people that have higher costs. What they can expect investors?
I mean, right now we have amazing occupancy, and the market is not that price sensitive. So I see when I put up the prices per night, for example, we still get the same amount of bookings. It's a dream right now. So right now you can expect at the prices when you're getting in right now, we have short construction times of maximum 1 year. The first building is 8 months of construction time and already under construction. So it's a short time to finish, but of course, when you buy it in the pre-sale, you're going to get it cheaper. Finished, it's more going to be around like 50K. But if you get in right now, you're going to have a yield of like 14%. But it's explained through high occupancy, low seasonality, and buying at a good price. For real estate, it's like with everything. The price is what matters, and the price also dictates your risk. So if you buy an apartment here for 100K, there's much more risk than buying an apartment at 35K. So that will also determine your yield in the end. And yeah, we're seeing net yields here at 14% at the moment for Airbnb, but it will for sure be double digits. So even if the economy or occupancy gets worse, you're going to have like 10% yield on Airbnb. And that sounds insane. Like that sounds kind of unbelievable, but it's what we're seeing right now in practice. And for me, I've bought some finished apartments this year too. I'm about to buy my 10th apartment now. It's insane. And even for finished apartments, which you buy a bit more expensive than if you buy them during construction, I'm getting around 10% yields. And for me, that's just insane. And yeah, we have all of the management capabilities, the tax declaration capabilities. I'm sure you have the residency capabilities.
Yeah.
So
Citizenship
it's
as
a
well.
one-stop shop, basically. Citizenship here is an interesting topic.
Yeah.
For us as Germans, for example,
Yeah.
since April of this year, we can get a passport, a second passport. Before, we would have had to return our German passport, which is a very good and powerful passport for traveling, but getting worse with time. Now France did the first step towards taxing you based on citizenship. I'm very sure Germany will follow because they have a huge budget problem. The German government right now just imploded. They're going to have elections now, I think before March. So I think now is the right time to get a plan B. And residency here is cheap and easy. And then afterwards, after 3 years, you can get a passport.
Yeah, it's 2 years of temporary, 3 of permanent, and then boom. You have a new citizenship, Mercosur, by the way, so it opens doors to all the neighbor countries as well. Latin America, it's pretty open, the same way that if you have a German passport, you have the Schengen area open. So
yeah, and we'll see what happens. I think Paraguay here is a very good option because it has kind of like a negative beta. So when
negative what?
investment terms.
Oh,
so
okay.
basically, when in other places stuff goes bad, that would be a positive for here because here we have kind of like an oasis in Latin America and in the world. Where you don't have that socialist attitude, where you have a lot of growth. The population here is young. The average here is 27 years. So there's going to be a lot of growth here. And especially with the investment grade rating we got this year, there's going to be a lot of capital flowing in here. A young population with a capitalist mindset, willing to work. That's a good combination of growth. And we see this year, like Germany in the 60s, for example. So I think we're going to have a boom here. And now I think Franzi can tell you a bit about.
Yeah. Francis, that is in marketing. It would be interesting to know, what do you see as the strongest selling points of Asunción, Paraguay, and of course, Park Lofts?
Of Asunción in general, I mean, the boys already told you, you have everything here. You have every opportunity. You still have the opportunity to invest your money without losing, with very little risk. You can build something here still. As you said, for example, there are so many ideas out there in the world, and you can still do them here. Here is so much to develop. It's like a little baby that needs to grow up. And this is, I think, the biggest selling point for Paraguay in general. You can still live here and you can grow something here. And this is something you cannot do in other countries. You cannot do in America or in Europe because you have basically everything. You have an idea and there are 20 more people who still had the same idea 10 years before you.
Correct.
So Park Lofts is the thing where first you have a lot of foreign students, then Airbnb, and also you spread your risk, you diverse it. So what is better? If you look at all these wonderful, beautiful towers here, look at them at night. What do you see? It's dark because no one lives there. So we have the big problem. Of course, the real estate economy here is booming right now, but the luxuries sector. But what is the problem now? We don't have enough people who can afford these apartments. So we build and build and build, and a lot of Argentinian people buy them to save their money of the inflation right now. But they are empty. It's just to like store your money. But we don't want that. We want our investors to have a revenue, of course. So we built something for the people here. And also many Brazilian students come for the medical university, but also a lot of Germans come. And so the parents of those students always are looking for good and safe apartments for their kids, and affordable ones, because of course you don't want to pay like $2,000-3,000 a month for your kid to study abroad. You don't want that. So we have a win-win-win situation for students and for people who want to rent an Airbnb. We have a win situation for the investors who spread their risk, and we have a very good revenue. And a win situation for Paraguay, because we build also for their people. Because right now a lot of apartment gets built, but not for the own people. And now Park Lofts also is available and affordable for Paraguayans. And I think this is the step in the right direction. And yeah, it's a new market.
Yeah, because we need to remember that the minimum salary here is $350, $80, less than $400 a month.
Yeah, and
So
also if you
this
think
makes it
about
affordable for everybody.
Exactly. And also if you think about it, many people here live like 1-2 hours away, and they have to drive here every single day to work. So, and I can see this because I have some Paraguayan friends also, and I can see what they are doing every single day. They work 12 hours a day, 10 to 12 hours a day. Then they drive home 1.5 hours, and then they have to come back like 5 to 6 hours later, 1.5 hours again. So what happens? You have like no personal life anymore. You have no money. You still have to live with your parents, because otherwise you cannot afford your own food, electricity. It's expensive. And you have to pay a lot of gas for the driving all the time. So if they would rent a Park Lofts apartment for very, very little money, $200, they would save the gas. And this is also already a very big, how do you say it, category.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And
even
you would
worth the
have
time.
a personal life.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. You save up to 4 hours a day. These people
That's
have the
priceless.
opportunity. It's priceless. This is the problem. You shouldn't work for money to survive. You should work for freedom. But if you work and you have to drive 4 hours a day home, sleep 5 hours, and then go back to work, that's not freedom. That's not a life. So we also create life and freedom for these people. Here they have everything. They have their friends. They have enough sleep. In Recoleta, in a new one, they also have a pool. They can make asado. Yeah, I think you know Paraguayans love their asado.
Yes,
So they have a co-working space in both of in the apartment buildings, so they can study together. So we created something like a safe space for them, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Just to show a little bit our projects, this is Park Lofts Airport, 33 units. We sold 30, starting at $29,000, even without doing any marketing. It was basically all sold in a friends and family mailing around campaign, and we already got everything sold. So here it's starting at 29,000. That's probably the cheapest apartments you can buy, not only in Asunción, but in any capital of the world. The second one is Park Lofts Recoleta, 57 units. We also just started to send it to friends and family. We sold already the highest floor. And we will start the public marketing quite soon. Park Lofts Recoleta starts at 35,000 and goes up to 37,000. As Franzi mentioned, here we have a roof terrace with swimming pool, a gym, event room, barbecue spaces. That is already level 7, so we have already a fantastic view over the city. The location here is very good. It's near where all the action is, and it's still a green area. So you have It's relatively quiet, you have a nice view, but in a few hundred meters, you have La Cuadrita, where you have a lot of restaurants, and it's 1 kilometer to Shopping Mariscal, which is already one of the city hotspots. Yeah, our prices, and that's very important for investors, it's like buying bread in the supermarket. It's not like buying champagne or caviar. Whenever there's a crisis, people still buy bread. Why? Because they need it. They might stop to buy champagne and caviar, but they will always buy bread. There's no risk that they ever don't do it. That's very important. So even if there would be any crisis that we don't see, the market is booming, but if there ever would be a crisis in the luxury segment, it would not even affect us at all. And all the investors, they wouldn't be affected. The next thing about real estate prices, from the numbers I mentioned, starting with 29,000, you see this is rock bottom. This is pure production cost. This is just sand, concrete, manpower, and that's it. There's no frill, no hot air inside of these prices. Why is this the case? People here buying cash. There's until now not a really functioning mortgage market. In general, in Paraguay, debt levels are low. The central government is a very moderate debt level. Real estate developers usually operate without any debt. They use their own funds. And most buyers use their own funds. The mortgage market is starting now. Interest rates come down in Paraguay. Interest rates have been high all the time. When the world had 0% interest rates, I bought bonds on the local stock exchange at 18% yearly, and they never failed. Now interest rates come down. They are quite close, a little bit higher than international levels, but they are coming down. And there are now government programs for Paraguayans to get cheap mortgage loans from a state bank. Now, when this system really starts, we will see in Paraguay what happened in Spain in the 80s and 90s. Before that, Spain was also rock bottom cheap. And then the mortgage market started and prices moved up for a long time, for 20 years. They moved up several 100% and achieved a level that is sometimes even higher than Germany in terms of real estate prices. Now in Paraguay, I don't know if it ever reaches German prices, but what I can say is when the mortgage market starts to come, when interest rates come down, you will not have that kind of ridiculous price level anymore of 29,000 for an apartment in the capital of the country. Prices will come at least a little bit closer to international levels. And this will give an investor not only a high current yield, that Robin mentioned that is in the double digits if you are moving into the Airbnb space, and that is a little bit lower than 10%, but still 7-8% with normal standard rental contracts. So you do not only get this, you will have high appreciations in capital values. Prices will move up if a Paraguayan mortgage market develops, and I think the likelihood of that is very, very high. Don't forget, as we mentioned before, Paraguay just recently became upgraded to investment grade. For a Latin American country, that's like becoming part of the nobility of countries. Most Latin American countries are not investment grade. Paraguay is. And that means capital will find its way to Paraguay, and that will mean interest rate levels will come down, and that will benefit real estate prices.
How is the mortgage situation, do you see, for foreigners? Like, do people will need to have residency? What will be the requirements to access this mortgage market?
Well, to get a mortgage loan for a foreigner, you will have to have a cédula, which is a long-term work permit that is very easy to get. You will also need regular Paraguayan income. That does not necessarily mean a salary. That could mean you have, if you have your own company like we have our monthly tax declarations, and based on the track record of these monthly tax declarations, you can also get a mortgage loan if you make a few $1,000s every month with your own company. Also, if you invest in long-term assets, let's say if a foreigner comes here and you buy bonds in a local stock exchange, and that bond income is a few $1,000s a month, you could qualify for a mortgage loan. But what is important, there is still no asset-based lending. It means you cannot come with 30-40% of the price. You have no Paraguayan income. You only have international income. The international income will not be accepted by the bank. It's only Paraguayan income. So you will not get the mortgage loan only based on your assets or on foreign income. You will need also Paraguayan income. That's one reason why the market here is still in its early stages. And now it's developing quickly because, as I mentioned before, interest rates come down. So there's more interest in people taking up a mortgage loan. And secondly, because the government bank, obviously the government bank only gives it to Paraguayan citizens and only to citizens that have a regular income. They will get very cheap mortgage loans, and that is also a driver for demand in the real estate market.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I have this personal banker, the VIP tier of one of the banks in Paraguay, and every time that I present international, from my LLC income, it's like, no. This is not how it works here. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, no, you need to present like this money, and sometimes they prefer like $500 or $1,000 coming from Paraguay than like $50,000, $100,000. They don't care.
Totally.
Yeah. It's like, but look, I have this card with this limit. It's like, no. It's like,
When I arrived here, it was even stricter. You did not even get a bank account without Paraguayan regular income.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago. So for the first few months, I did not have a bank account, even if I had already invested $1 million amount in real estate. They say, we are not interested. You need Paraguayan income. And then when I had the first rental contract of $1,000, someone paid me $1,000 for an apartment. Oh, now you have $1,000 monthly income. Certainly you get a bank account. And that was how it was during that time. Now, to get a bank account, everybody will get it. You don't need an income. And there's some banks that give you a bank account without having that income, but they will not give you a loan without that regular
which
income.
makes this interesting because if you have yield
That's right.
from Park Lofts, you have local income.
That's very important. Many foreigners will need to provide even to their home country. Argentinians, for example, need that already. They have to show that they're to be residents to their home country in order to be recognized as being foreign residents. They have to show a tax declaration in Paraguay. And if you have apartments, you have the possibility to show a tax declaration. I mean, you have a few of these apartments and you already have a 4-digit monthly income nicely on your tax declaration, even if the tax is ridiculously low. By the way, the tax is, there is a value-added tax of 5% that the tenant has to pay, and your income tax is 8% on rental income, but you can deduct expenses against that.
Yeah.
Or you can choose a 4% income tax where you cannot deduct anything, but then you just pay these 4% on your rental income, and then it's taxed income, nicely documented. You can show it everywhere in the world.
Yeah. The advantage of having this single-digit tax is that then you can access the loans, and with the loans that you will access, you will make much more. So even if you just put a symbolic amount here, and you're making hundreds of thousands a month, whatever it is, where you go, companies in the US or UK LOPs, Dubai Free Zone companies, but then you have this small amount that you declare here, it's going to open doors. So it's good that, you can invest in something here.
And yeah, the taxes here are insanely low. So
Yeah.
the maximum tax on anything here is 10%. And you can, with almost anything, deduct all of your expenses.
Yeah.
In this case, even the purchase of the apartment.
Yeah.
So you can deduct 30% of the purchase price and carry it forward until you made back that amount.
Yeah.
So I think it's completely insane. You have probably the lowest taxes here in the region, and in combination with how easy it is amazing. By the way, we also accept payment for units in Europe or the US, so you can just comfortably pay within Europe. We have bank accounts in Belgium and in Liechtenstein. So you can just pay there, get your apartment here, have your local income here, and it's very comfortable. So to conclude, I think there's 3 points that are very important here. First is the country, and especially Asunción, is undervalued. Real estate prices in Asunción are 41% below the average of Latin American capitals. So it's an undervalued market. In this market, we have the cheapest prices. We had the cheapest prices on the platform Infocasas, which is a platform where more than 90% of real estate is listed here. And then on the second point, we just got upgraded by Moody's to investment grade, so there's more capital coming here. And we know what happens from the US and Europe when capital floods into the system. We know it because of the central banks printing money, but here is actual foreign investment, which is also good for the economy and not creating inflation. And the third point is, with your low purchase price, you have very low risk, you have high yields, and as Julian said, there is no credit in the system here. There is I think it's less than 1.2% of GDP, which is only 40 billion, in new credits, mortgages given out every year. So there is basically no credit in the system. Also, the government almost has no debt. It's like 20 billion debt they have. So compared with the US or Europe, it's literally nothing. So you don't have any leverage in the system here, which could lead to a crisis. Always when we see real estate bubbles, like in 2007 in the US, it always has to do with credit normally, that people buy more than they can afford. And here everything is bought in cash, like we said. Paraguay is not the ideal country to go if you have nothing. You can live on $1,000 here per month, but you can live way better if you have 2,000 or 3,000 or 10,000 you don't even know how to spend here. And the yields here are great. So I think for investments, for the residency, also if you want to do business yourself here, this is a great destination.
I would add a couple of things here, Robin. The first one is what you are mentioning about the cash. Something good is that Paraguay does not have the CRS signed, so they don't exchange financial information with other countries. So if you are in Europe, if you are in Spain, I mean, you're going to have an extra layer of privacy here. Actually, I was going to Itaú, to this personal bank tier, and there's a little poster there, writing that says you can put up to $25,000 in dollars or equivalent in guaraníes cash per month without any explanation. And literally, I was there with a friend.
Without any fees at Itaú Personal Bank?
Yeah, but the thing is, they will not ask you what's the source of the money.
No, they don't.
Like, they will, like 25,000 per month, you can just go there and boom, put it. My friend went in, like literally 30 seconds. Like, he's already personal bank as well. He gives his name, his cellular, gives the money, ciao. 2 seconds later, it's on the app. Done.
Totally.
25 per month. Then multiply by 12. That's one part. Then this money in this bank account in Paraguay, no other country in the world knows how much money you have in there. What the heck are you doing with that money? That's another part.
It's like Switzerland 20 years ago.
Yeah, and the other thing, the second one is that the guarani, compared to other currencies, it's much more stable. If you look at the trajectory of the guarani, like these past years, past decades, I mean, you have the experience since 2011 being here, but it's a very stable currency compared to, let's say, people saying, oh, what if the guarani goes with like Venezuela or happens like Argentina? Or it's completely different. It's two different worlds.
No, people here have their savings in guaranis. That's how much they trust in the currency. It's the oldest one in Latin America. It's also the one with the lowest inflation. The last couple of years, we had lower inflation than Europe or the US. It has different reasons. People here also have their savings in guaranis. This year wasn't that good for the guarani because we had interest rates heading down because of the investment grade rating Paraguay got. So that's going to be very good now for the next couple of years. But generally interest rates here went down while dollar interest rates were going up. So now they're probably going to go down again, and that's going to be good for the guarani. The guarani is going to get stronger. And yeah, you have a lot of unusual US dollar cash demand from Bolivia and Argentina, because those are countries which are pretty chaotic. Argentina now with Milei having better leadership, but still I'm not very convinced that they're going to recover that fast. I think the only thing Milei can really do right now is to save them from bankruptcy, but they're starting at a very, very difficult point for their country. And it's like Venezuela. If you go to Venezuela right now, everything is very expensive. So for it to get better in 10 years, now they have to go through 10 very difficult years. And that's also the reason why a lot of Argentinians are coming here right now, because everything in Argentina got way more expensive. Going to Buenos Aires now is expensive. We went there 1 year ago, 2 years ago, and it was dirt cheap. So you would go to a restaurant with 6 people in the best zone of Buenos Aires and paid like $50 maybe. So the first time I went to Argentina, I went by car. Going to Buenos Aires from here is 15 to 17 hours, I think. And we stopped on the way, on the middle of the way, in the middle of nowhere. And I had some pasta for like $1 because we exchanged the money on the black market. It's called the dollar blue exchange rate. And then I had some wine for $1 too. So it was incredibly, because Paraguay is already a very, very cheap country. I think one of the cheapest I know. But Argentina used to be more cheaper because of the inflation, hyperinflation and stuff. But right now it's expensive with the basically kind of some part like dollarization. And yeah, there's a huge cash dollar demand from Argentina and Bolivia. Bolivia is a chaos too right now, and that made the dollar unusually strong here, and the guarani a bit weaker this year. Also low soy prices. Paraguay is still exporting a lot of agricultural products, but I think it's a lot of factors which could probably be good for the guarani right now. Also with probably Trump lowering interest rates and
also the Brazilian real that Julian was mentioning.
Yeah, the Brazilian real fell this year by more than 20%. And I think that's probably because people don't trust in the Lula government. You have some capital moving out of Brazil. And the consequence is typically for every 10% that the Brazilian real falls, the Paraguayan guarani falls 2 or 3%, simply because Brazil is Paraguay's biggest trading partner. It's quite normal that a currency develops not only relative to the US dollar, but relative to a trade-weighted basket of currencies of their trading partners. So the Brazilian real was the drag-down effect for the guarani this year. But all in all, the guarani only fell about 7-8% in 1 year because of that effect from Brazil and the combined effect of also what happened in Bolivia.
Yeah.
But Bolivia, by the way, is very good for our real estate market, because Bolivia, the rich Bolivians, and there are a lot of rich Bolivians, especially in Santa Cruz, they are moving to Asunción. And there, everybody who moves out of Bolivia moves to Asunción, because we are just close to them. Culturally, Santa Cruz is similar to Asunción. Santa Cruz is more similar to Asunción than to their own capital, La Paz. So people are all coming here, and a lot are really rich. A lot are even big real estate investors. They come over with their whole companies, their whole family clan. Everybody resettles here in Asunción. It's an interesting and very new phenomenon that we only observed in 2024.
Good recap of everything related to real estate, Asunción, Paraguay, where Paraguay was years ago, where is it heading, and well, if you want some investing opportunities, there we go.
Maybe we can now switch the camera and show the panorama out there. And it's important to mention that when I arrived in Asunción 11 years ago, everything looked like a green forest. There were no high-rise buildings in this part of the city. And when we see it right now, how it looks like, it's already a real city skyline forming.
Yeah, totally. So let's switch from this interior to the exterior and the views of the helipad. So watch that video right now, and you're gonna see what we are seeing.